A couple of years ago, I made one of the scariest decisions in my life. I quit my corporate job in the healthcare. And this is a job when I got it, following on from the interview, and I started doing it, I said, well, thank you, Lord. This is the job that I had wanted all my life. I mean, my background is nursing. I worked as a nurse. I worked as an advanced nurse practitioner. Then I rose up the ranks to becoming service manager, then to the corporate space. So I felt that I had achieved this job, and I thought this was where I was going to retire. The package was great, the money was good, and I was loving what I was doing. I was doing my job so well, as we do. Because most of you who have lived in this country and you've migrated in this country, you know, to be able to get to the top, you will have to work very hard to find somebody that actually recognizes your strength and your talents and give you that job. Most people who are quite capable are not doing these jobs only because their faces don't fit. So to be able to have gotten this opportunity was a great one for me. So quitting was something that I didn't take lightly. But believe me, if you work in these places and with people that don't look like you, they often undervalue you. They often don't appreciate all your efforts, regardless of all the achievements. I felt that I was working with people that were undermining me, although we were on the same level, and some people were just trying to really affect how I was working and not recognizing my achievements. And when you work in that space long enough where people are trying to dim your light, are trying to put you down, no matter what efforts you're making, it can affect your mental health. And when your mental health is affected, it can in turn affect your physical health. Emotionally, I was a bit of a mess in this job in the end, although I was performing well. And people that I was managing, the team that I was managing were thriving, were doing very well. But the lack of recognition just demotivated me so much. And people just really picking faults where there was no reason to pick faults. And your results are speaking for themselves. You've achieved so much, you've turned things around, and everybody knows about it, but they seem to not want to talk about their achievements. They seem to just want to pick on the things that are not working, or just try and find faults for no apparent reason. And that made the job even harder. And as most people might know, that if the work environment is not great, you end up taking it home. Then it takes your time at home. It affects your relationships. It can affect you physically. No matter the money, I'm telling you, your time is more important. Your well-being is more important. Your sanity is more important. So I decided to make that move. And so that's what I'm going to talk about for the purpose of this video. In this channel, I like to encourage people. I like to inspire people, because I believe the brave move that I made from leaving my corporate job into going to the unknown, and in turn setting up a successful business which is doing quite well, is exactly what I'm going to share with you. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing and how well the business is actually doing. So I just thought it's worthwhile doing this video. There may be a few people out there watching this video. They're in their 50s or 60s, and they're stuck in a job that they don't like anymore, that they feel they've outgrown this job, and they're just dragging themselves to this work every single day and working with people that they feel that they're not connecting with. It can be so disheartening, I can tell you that. And most importantly, one will be thinking about the financial implications. You'll be thinking about 50. This is a time when most people are talking about retirement. And I'm sure out there are some people who've got things all worked out. They've saved money. In life, we all differ. People's circumstances differ. There are some people that made the right decisions at the right time, and right now they can afford to retire. But for some of us who couldn't afford to retire, it was a risky decision. And I can tell you, when I got that job, I thought, when you go beyond 50 and you go for interviews, will people be able to take you seriously? Will people be able to accept you? There are some people that will look at all these things before you get into a job. So I knew that my departure was going to be one that was going to affect a number of things. Hence, I had had a lot of sleepless nights trying to navigate in my brain how I was going to sell this idea to my husband, and how I was going to, how we were going to cope financially once I would have left. And no matter how many times I went round and round the idea in my head, it didn't make sense and it made sense. It didn't make sense and it made sense. But the more sleepless nights I had within this role that I had, this beautiful role that I had, and I was coping, I was doing my work very well, but there were people that just decided to make my life a little bit difficult. So I wasn't going to stick for it. I wasn't going to put up, because I knew what I could achieve. So however, I had to map a plan in my head, and I decided I was going to start a business, and this business was going to be healthcare related, because my background is I trained as a nurse, and then I worked as an advanced nurse practitioner. Then I went into the corporate space. So I had all the experience and I had achievements that led me to believe that this was something that I could do. So which is something that I can advise anyone who finds themselves in that situation. Look at your strengths, look at your achievements, look at that thing that you can do, that you are very good at. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because that's the very thing that you need to draw your strength from and start thinking about it whilst you're in that job that you don't like. There's so many opportunities out there that people could do, could set up cleaning companies, care companies, and those people who are into IT nowadays, in this space where people are working online, people need part-time workers to help them work remotely, and people could set up a company. You could sell some products online. There's so many things out there that one could do, but the most important thing is you have to write a business plan, and you have to look into the business that you are going to do in whatever area you're going to do, and look at those people that have already done it to see whether it's something, how long it may take for it to give you a return. Then that takes me to my next point, that before you do it, make sure that if you are to quit your job, have a soft landing. That's one thing that I had to speak to my husband. We had some savings aside, and which was going to help us in the interim, but not in the long term. And that's what's important, is have something on the side that you could do. Or a soft landing could mean that if you're renting, you might need to downsize. If you're not renting, you might need to look at the car that you have, the running cost to that car, how much you're paying for it. You might have to downsize and take a few steps back before you make those steps forward. So there are many things you've got to do. I mean, look, in this life, the way that I look at it, that wherever you are, wherever I was, it's a catalog of decisions that we've had to make in the past. And those decisions have paved us to where we are. So you might be fearful that what if, but look back and see some of the most risky decisions that you've made, and you're still here, you're still eating, you're still able to put food on the table. So sometimes we have to take a few steps back. Sometimes life might not turn out as we wanted, but the most important thing is to be able to lift yourself up. But what I think the most important gift that you could give to yourself is peace of mind, is sanity. Turning up to a toxic job can mess with your mental health, and in turn it can mess with your physical health. And we all know that all these things are interconnected. It can affect relationships, it can affect how you interact with your children at home, how you interact with your husband at home. Is it worth it? Lack of sleep, there's no job that is worth it. And let's face it, even some jobs that we do, you end up by default taking them home. Oh, I'm going to finish this over the weekend. Oh, I'm going to. So you'll end up putting in more time, even at home, just so that you can go and avoid a lot of talks at work. If you're working with toxic bosses, or if you're working with co-workers, in my case, I had other directors that were just undermining me or not valuing who I am. I had to speak up for myself in meetings, and it was wearing me out. You know, when others were being praised for their achievements, it's almost like my achievements were forgotten at times. So that made me feel really bad at that time. So I knew I had to leave. And trust me, where I am now, I've set up my business. I now employ a number of staff, quite a few staff members, and we've made a real difference in our community, in these staff members' lives, and the business is doing very well. It's thriving, it's growing. I'm I'm working in my own terms. I'm managing my own time. I've got an office at home. I've got an office elsewhere in another building. But when I wake up in the morning, I make the decisions. And even when I'm under a lot of stress, I can manage that stress because it's only me I've got to deal with, and my husband, who also helps me and plays a very significant role managing the operational side of the business. So we do work as a team, and I'm blessed with that side of the business. But for anybody who's planning to do this, I would recommend, do not put up and stay in a toxic environment. Plan your exit route. Don't just jump ship, because we know how things are in this country. Things can be very expensive, can be very tough. So you need to be able to have a plan in mind before that, and then think about how you are going to exit. You will not regret. I haven't regretted a moment. Yes, it took me 3 years before I could see the financial benefits, but that's roughly what I expected, because having talked to some people who were doing exactly what I'm doing, they said just the first 3 years was about making sure that our growing team was being paid. We started off with about 5 members of staff. We then grew to 10. We then grew to 15. And now we have about 20 staff members and more that work on a bank regular basis to help us out. And I can see that the business is actually growing and progressing, and it's in the right direction. I'm very excited that I've built this thing with my own hands, and I had what it takes regardless of all the voices that were trying to silence me. And I'm in a far, far better space. I can work where I like. I can take my computer and be in a different city, and I can still continue to work. Look at me now. I'm even on YouTube. It takes peace of mind. It takes to being in the right frame of mind to be able to do what I'm doing. And if you feel like you want to do what I'm doing, by all means, feel free to reach out. Let me know where you are in the comment section. If you've started this journey, if you're contemplating, you will not regret it. You just need determination. You need to be focused. You need to have a plan. Plan every detail. Plan your finances, every penny. Do a good budget. Know your outgoings, your incomings, the impact of what you are going to do. And if you're going to take on a more part-time role so that you can be able to juggle the 2 roles, what role is it and how are your finances looking? That's one thing that you've got to do. But there's so many opportunities. And right now, I'm in a much, much better place. In the next 5 years, I predict will be a lot better. I'll be earning a lot more, probably, all being well, than what I was earning in that job. But the freedom of mind, the peace of mind, having the time to do what I like to do, having that freedom to be able to do my YouTube channel without worrying too much about anything, is one of the greatest gifts I've given to myself. I would recommend and actually encourage you to take that decision. If this video has inspired you, please let me know in the comment section, and let's interact about where you're at in your journey. Let's connect and let me know how you're getting on. For now, I'm going to have to sign out. Take care. Bye for now.